Welcome back and welcome to Vlogmas Day 6. I actually had to go and look at what day it was. I've lost track of completely the date and the day and the month and the year. I've just lost it now. I'm ready for next year, clearly. So today is Tuesday, and on my blog I do a top 10 Tuesday, and so I thought for today's vlog I would share with you my top 10 Tuesday in case you wanted it in video form rather than in blog form. If you do want to go and see the covers of the books that I'm talking about, because most of them were ebooks so I don't have them here with me, then you'll have to go over to my blog and I'll leave a link below. But if you're happy to just listen to me, then feel free. So Top 10 Tuesday this week is new to me authors I've read this year. So they're not necessarily authors who've had debuts this year, but they are authors who I have read for the first time this year. So the first one, number 1, is Margo RAB. I read Kissing in America. I talked about this as a library book haul, and I talked about it in a wrap up, and I talked about it at my book group, and I've got a review of it coming up this week on the blog as well. And that was the first Margo RAB I read, but I do have another one of hers to read because I wanted to see what her other book was like, and it's much shorter, so hopefully going to read that one this month. Number 2 is Katie Lovell. I read one of her Meet Cute series, The Boy in the Bookshop, this year. If you haven't seen any of those, they're very, very short novellas, so you can literally like read them in your lunch break, but they're like a little series and of a girl meeting a guy, and they're called The Boy In. So The Boy in the Bookshop, The Boy in the Bakery. And I also read her book, The Sing-Along Society for Singletons, which I absolutely loved. I've reviewed it on the blog. I was part of the blog tour for that one, and I loved that one so much. If you're in any way into musicals or Disney films, definitely have to read that one. Number 3 is Jenny Lawson. I believe I've talked a lot about her book, Furiously Happy. I listened to it in the gym, and it was her reading it, and it was just so fantastic. I recommend listening to it if you can. Although she does say that there's pictures in her actual book as she's telling you about events and objects and people and places. So perhaps picking up a copy of the book and also listening to it would be the preferred choice for that one, but I highly recommend that one. It's about it's a bit of a memoir, but it's also about anxiety and depression as well, which sounds like a bit of a dark subject for a book, but it's such a funny book, and I could just relate to so many parts of it, which was fantastic. Number 4, Dorothy Coombs. I know, how have I not read a Dorothy Coombs yet? I read my first Dorothy Coombs literally only a couple of months ago, That Girl from Nowhere, which I have talked about on here, and again on my blog you'll find a review. I started this one about 2.5 years ago, and I've literally come back to it and finished it now. I started it in hardback form. I then received a paperback. I then bought the audiobook. So I have this book in all its forms. And yes, I don't have a copy to show you now because I've ditched the hardback and the paperback, passed it on to other people. Carrie Hope Fletcher is number 5. I talked on here about her book On the Other Side. I absolutely loved it, and I need to get a copy of her Christmas novella that goes with it, definitely. But she was a new to me author this year, and it was her first fiction book that was out this year anyway, so it's kind of a debut, new to me type thing in both cases. Number 6 is Sarah Crossin, again a popular author. I read her book, I listened to her book 1 this year, which is about conjoined twins, and is written in kind of free verse. So it's when you have the actual physical book, a lot of the chapters are very short. Some of them only include like a couple of words, some of them include more than a few pages, but it's a unique sort of reading experience, and I thought listening to it might be quite different. I'm kind of still, it was very sort of, it was poetic and it was beautifully written. I'm still sort of on the fence about whether I'm a fan or not so much of a fan. I kind of haven't made my mind up about that one yet. Number 7 is Megan Foy. Her book, Me-ternity, was a very controversial book this year, and I really liked the idea of the premise behind it, and so even before I heard about all the controversy, I knew I definitely wanted to read it, and I did enjoy reading that. Again, there's a review on the blog, so go there if you want to find out more about that one. Laura Tate and Jimmy Rice, I can't believe it took me so long to get to their debut novel. I actually ended up reading their second novel first and then immediately had to go and read their debut novel. The Night That Changed Everything is the second novel, and The Best Thing That Never Happened to Me is the first novel. Both of them are awesome. Both of them are amazing. Go away and find them. Go away and read them. So good. Just yeah. Read both of them this year, so good. Number 9, Julia Ashton. I think you can see, just behind me here, I actually have a physical book of this one. Yes, These Days of Ours. I read this one and I raced through this one on a plane because I was sort of so into it and enjoying it so much. And yep, that was the first Julia Ashton that I've read. And finally, Jill Mansell. Hadn't read any Jill Mansell. Read my first Jill Mansell this year. I owned a few Jill Mansells. I think I had a paperback and a couple of ebooks, and I ended up buying an audiobook, and that's how I read my very first Jill Mansell. And she was a new to me author this year. Crazy, I know. So that's my top 10 Tuesday. As I say, most of the books I've talked about I've reviewed on my blog, so click there and have a look if you want to hear any more about any of those books. The only one that's an exception to that is the Margo RAB, which is coming out, not the book coming out, my review's coming out I think on Friday, either that or Monday. It's sometime soon. I've written it, it's scheduled, it's on there, but I will have another Vlogmas video for you tomorrow. I hope you're having a great day. Bye.